So one of the things that I find interesting about the new modern era is how the majority of society has decided that whenever they feel like they deserve something, doesn't matter what it is or how expensive it is or how difficult it is to obtain, they believe that it is their right, their birthright to acquire it and have it. What do I mean by that? Well, I think one of the biggest pieces of Americans being overloaded and unable to afford the life that they live is in part due to our vehicles. The car market is absolutely insane, and it has been for the past couple years. If you go and look up any vehicle, okay, on the used car market, I'm not even talking brand new. I'm not talking about something brand new off the lot, right? Because mind you, I want to say back in 2005, I went and got a brand new vehicle, right? And that vehicle only cost me about, I'll say only, but it was about $500, right? Car note. That was on a $25,000 vehicle, okay? And it was a GMC Envoy. $25,000, brand new off the lot. And that was one of the biggest mistakes that I had made ever, purchasing a brand new car. I'll never do it again. One, because as soon as you drive it off the lot, we all know what happens. It starts to depreciate. So as soon as the minute that you put your foot on that gas and you leave the lot, it is no longer worth that $25,000. Isn't that something, right? Why in the world would you want to pour so much into an depreciating asset, right? But we do it all the time. When I was young, I remember my mom going and buying a Crown Vic, 1987 or 1986, don't quote me on that. But I remember it was a Crown Vic, and she ended up buying it from an older white couple, okay? She bought that Crown Vic for $2,000, $2,000. And it drove like a dream and lasted forever. It drove like a dream and lasted forever. For $2,000, that was one of the greatest bargains and best deals that my mother has ever received in a lifetime, I believe. But that era is done and over with, because the used car market today in no way, shape, or form reflects that era. We have reached a time where we are paying full price. We are paying $500 for a car note on a used vehicle. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you want to drive the latest and greatest. I know you want a car or a vehicle with all of the amenities, the heated seats, the leather seats. You want the moon roof, the panoramic roof, right? You want the red seats that make it look fancy. You want all the bells and whistles, all the electronics, the cameras on the inside, the rear camera when you back up and put it in reverse, right? I know it all looks good. I get it. I understand it. I got my eye on something too. But the reality is that I cannot afford it. Could I go out and cash in all of the money in my stock accounts and my 401ks and then buy it? Probably, yeah, I could. But is that the right move to make? Is that being financially and fiscally responsible? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Listen, I know we all like nice things. But buying a new car, especially 2024, 2023, right now in today's market, is a financial death sentence. Let's get into it.
Well, after 3 years with my Tahoe, I'm finally getting rid of it. Let me tell you why. So 3 years ago, if you're an OG on my TikTok, you know that I bought my Tahoe for a lot of money. And I love this car. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfect. Everything about it is just, it was my dream car. It is my dream car, and I absolutely love it. But I messed up 3 years ago when I bought it. So I bought my car and I financed it for $84,000.
Stop right there. If you didn't catch that, she said she bought her dream car, and her dream car was a brand new modern day Tahoe. And she said that she financed that vehicle for $84,000. $84,000. Ladies and gentlemen, my gosh. And at that price, I'm pretty sure it came stocked with everything that you could ever want in there, right? She said it was her dream vehicle, so she went out. She felt like she should have it. But $84,000 on a vehicle that will depreciate and be half its worth in half the amount of time that you agreed to pay for it. Oh my gosh. All right.
Which was fine, 3 years ago. But I have been making $1,400 a month payments for the past 3 years. And if you do the math, you will see that $1,400 a month payments in 3 years should be around $50,000 worth of payments. Yeah.
She said that she was making $1,400 a month payments. And over the course of just 3 years, she had paid $50,000.
Well, I've only paid off $10,000 of the balance. So my $84,000 car that I bought 3 years ago is now still at a balance of about almost $75,000. And honestly, that blows my mind that I have paid $50,000 into this car and have only paid off $10,000 of the balance. So Friday, your girl is getting a new car. And honestly, at first, I was scared and didn't know if I was making the right decision. And I had to think about it a lot and weigh my options and think about the pros and the cons. And honestly, today I just feel very content with my decision. 3 years ago, I was in a mindset of where if I wanted something, I was going to get it. No matter what it was, no matter what I had to do, no matter how much I had to pay. I would work and get the money that I needed and I would buy it. Well, I'm not in that mindset anymore. Materialistic things used to be so important to me. I had to have the best of the best of everything. And honestly, I am nowhere near that person anymore. I make a good amount of money and I support my family, but why have I been paying so much for a car that I don't drive all the time? I only drive it when I go to work or when I'm doing something. Obviously that's what a car's for, but I could be using that money towards so many other things. I could be saving it, I could be using it on vacations, I could be using it to buy stuff that are more relevant, or putting it towards my family, investments, whatever. And the fact that I've blown $50,000 so far on something that's nowhere near getting paid off stresses me out. And I'm really happy for myself because that is growth. I'm so glad that I don't really care about materialistic things anymore. And I just am really, really excited for this.
3 years, $50,000 going down the drain because she's turning the vehicle back in. That's 50 grand, you all. 50 grand gone. She says she makes pretty decent money, but I don't care how much you make. Taking a $50,000 L should never be at the forefront of your mindset. Now, I'm glad that she's changed the way she thinks as far as in the way of materialistic things go. But this is a lesson that I think that young people do not learn early, right? The most that they'll tell you is to get pre-approved for a loan when you're going for a car. That's the most that they'll tell you. But what they don't tell you, and what she obviously did not understand when she went and purchased this $84,000 vehicle, was how principle works. She had no clue about principal. See, they don't tell you that. They don't teach you these things in school that you should know when you're going out and making permanent decisions that are going to affect your life for a very long time, or at least in the interim, right? For a couple of years, for the next couple of years, 6 to 7 to 8 years. Because some of you are going out here and you are getting financed with 84-month loans. That's right. Some of you are out here getting financed in a way to where you end up having to pay a car note. Not a light car note, not $200, but you're ending up having to pay a $500, $600, $700, $800 car note for the next 7 to 8 years, almost a decade. That is absolutely insane. Because 10 years from now, you probably will not even like the vehicle that you chose any longer. Guess what? There'll be something else new on the market that's shinier, prettier, and has more amenities than you have. Because that's just how the automotive industry works. But what they don't tell you is that $1,400 that you're paying every single month, that only a percentage of that is going towards the principal. So in 3 years, she had only paid down her loan for $10,000 worth, despite her having shelled out over $50,000 in cash. Ladies and gentlemen, what are we doing? Young people, I know it looks cool. I know when you're out riding through the streets and you feel like you got a beat up buggy and somebody pulls up next to you and they got a nice shiny car and they whipping it through the streets, right? They blasting the music. It's shining in the sunlight. They just got it washed and detailed. I know it looks great. I know it looks like a dream. But let me tell you, a lot of them are struggling to pay that note. A lot of them not even going to have that car 5, 6 months from now because it's going to be repoed. And all that money that you spent, all that money that you paid, all those down payments and late nights and late hours that you worked, all that overtime is going to be for nothing. We have to get control of our finances. In order to do that, we have to get control of our spending habits and the way that we think about money and approach it.
So on Friday, the Tahoe's gonna be gone and I'm gonna be done with it, and your girl is buying a new car and we're paying cash for it. So I'm gonna have 0 car payments. And that makes me so happy because I am so excited for the freedom of no longer having a car payment. So the $1,400 that I was spending every month on my car, I can now put to something else. And if I have any advice for anyone that's thinking of buying a car or buying anything, honestly, and that is going to be making payments on it, my advice is not to do what I did because it is not worth it. Do not pay so much for something that is so irrelevant.
So irrelevant. I'm glad she said that, because what a lot of times what we don't realize is we don't break it down to the simplest terms. And in simplest terms, a car just really gets you from point A to point B, correct? Yes? Unless you're living in it, a car really doesn't do anything but get you from point A to point B. So as long as you have something that will allow you to do that, then it is accomplishing what it was intended for. Its intended purpose was to get you from point A to point B and back home. That's it. This luxury shit, this luxury lifestyle that we all want to live, when we see the fancy commercials pop up on screen and it's got all of the electric amenities in it, it's to entice you and reel you in, get you in front of the dealer so that you can sign the papers for a ridiculous deal, for a ridiculous contract, for a ridiculous amount of time, for a ridiculous and exorbitant fee that you are going to have to pay and may not be able to maintain over the course of the next 10 years. I paid my car off 3 years ago. My truck. I paid my truck off 3 years ago. Mind you, it's a 2009. I'm driving a 2009 truck. Paid it off 3 years ago and I was so ecstatic. I was so elated. I could not wait to pay that thing off and be rid of a car note. And now I cannot see myself going back to a car note. I just can't see it. I cannot see it. I don't see it. I will drive it. I will drive my current vehicle until the wheels fall off. Because I just cannot go into another bad contract and fork over that much money to a dealership that will be eating off of me for the next 10 years. Now, my contract that I signed wasn't that bad, but it was close enough. 6. That's still bad. Now, let's take a closer look at exactly what we're dealing with. That's the woman there. I pulled her up on another page who ended up buying and shelling out all that money. But I want to give you all a closer look before we get out of here. Here's the car payment statistics, okay? Says for many Americans, the cost to finance a vehicle can be one of the biggest hits to their wallets each month outside of housing costs, and which is another thing entirely. According to Experian's third quarter automotive finance report, drivers are spending over $700 and $500 each month for new and used vehicles, respectively. Insurance costs an average of $2,014 per year, according to Bankrate data, which in the wash comes out to somewhere around $170, $180 a month for insurance. So on top of the car note, on top of the $500 or $700 car note, you're also paying $200 to $250 to sometimes $300 for the insurance, depending on where you live. Depending on where you live. If you're in a high traffic area, that insurance is going to be higher than that. It's going to be through the roof. And it depends on the model of car that you're driving. So ladies and gentlemen, the point is, please, please, please do not continue to feed the beast. Do not continue to feed the beast. The average monthly car note payment for new cars is $726. The average monthly car payment for used cars is $533. For some of you, this $726 and $533, for some of you, that is very close to what you pay every single month in your mortgage payment. Is it not? For some of you, that is very close to what you pay for your rent, to rent your apartment or to rent your townhome or wherever it is that you stay. Is it not? So why in the world would you go and make this bad investment? That's what this is. This is a terrible investment. This is a killer. A brand new car. Financing a brand new car is a finance killer. It says 39.20% of vehicles financed in the third quarter of 2023 were new vehicles. 60.80% of vehicles financed in the third quarter of 2023 were used vehicles. Of consumers purchasing new vehicles in 2023, 79.09% chose to finance their vehicle versus 82.25% in 2022. So nearly 80% of people chose to finance their vehicle last year in 2023, which means that you have an abundance of people out here paying expensive and exorbitant car notes, which is exactly what that means. And don't let your credit be bad, because if your credit is bad, then you're going to pay for that as well. Here's another chart here. Monthly payment, used car, loan term, 68.26 months. My gosh. My Lord. Interest rate at 7% for a new car. Interest rate at a used car, 11 point. Listen, and these are very conservative interest rates. I've seen interest rates go as high as 23 to 24% for some of y'all, because some of you have terrible credit. So some of your interest rates will not reflect a 7% or 11% outcome. For some of you, you will be paying 15 to 20% interest on the vehicle that you decided to finance. We got to think differently about the way that we handle money and the way that we move with money. We have to start prioritizing the things that are important in our lives and then making the necessary adjustments so that our bank accounts and our finances reflect those changes. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video.